we can do, buddy. Nothing I can do.
I'll speak to you later on, right?
Hello and welcome to episode 73 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your host Mark and myself Paul. Join us tonight, we have Terence, Ter161 from our phone page to the podcast, www.celticrumours.co.uk. You can also check out the links to the podcast in the description below. On tonight's show we will look at today's fifth round Scottish Cup victory against Raith Rovers at Celtic Park. Terence will talk about the mix-up in fixtures list after the split, Celtic interim PLC financial report, a look ahead to Thursday night Conference League game against Bodo Glimt, and of course we'll be looking through the live chat, so if there's any comments you guys want us to discuss, please let us know. Firstly, I hand off to Mark for a few shout-outs and he'll bring Terence onto the show.
Right, thanks very much, Paul. Usual shout-outs to Tim Alloy, Rich and his family, Campsie Boy, Mikey, and B. John, United Ireland. And just on the subject of that picture of Billy Mealy bought for us to raffle at Christmas, Paul, he still got in his room and he said to give it away to somebody. So we'll sort something out and we'll mind what we've done with that Amazon voucher the next for the podcast next Sunday. We'll get all the names on that wee wheel and we'll do a drawing. Somebody can get that picture. It's just sitting in his room, no doing anything, do you know what I mean? Who's in the chat here? See the Jabra Jobbies is in. Stubbs' horse. Bobby the YouTube magnet. There, somebody saying there's a wee slight buzz for you there, Paul.
Yeah, I saw that there. I tried to fix it there.
Right, that's us, Paul. Right, just we've no moved up any subs, we've no lost anybody. Just the usual. Thanks everybody for listening in, supporting us. Remember, enjoy what we're doing. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and if you know how, please leave a comment below.
So Celtic line up in the Scottish found 5th round against Raith Rovers. Ange brought in some of the changes. Hart, Radisson, Vickers, Welch, Scales, Beaton was captain today. Hayate, Roderick, Forrest, Johnson and Giamarcus up front. Another strong bench as well today. Barkas, Bain, Johnson, Barkas, Bain, Taylor, Abada, McCarthy, Yotta, Idaguchi, Miida, McGregor and Doug. Max Terms there, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's him. Yeah, Terms.
Yeah.
Terms,
we expected Ange to bring in the changes, and it's something that I said to Mark when the lineup came out. He mustn't have a lot of confidence in Barkas and Bain if he's reluctant to rest Joe Hart even in these games. It's the same against Alloa. We didn't see him resting Joe Hart.
Yeah, it was a strange one, Paul, to be fair, because you would have definitely thought surely Scott Bain would have started just precautionary, you know what I mean? Especially after what happened with McGregor in the Alloa game, because if Joe Hart goes, we're really stuck. So yeah, I was very surprised that he didn't start it. But maybe he just wants to keep Joe Hart playing all the time. I don't know, but it didn't come across great to the other two guys.
No. I actually think it could be maybe because of he ran into changes in defence and he didn't want to maybe put Bain and Barkas in because of the experience Joe Hart maybe has.
I don't know, but I think it's just Angie's way of thinking, Paul. I mean, we've spoke about it. He says that that's they'll get a rest when they're 45.
Yeah, like
a goalkeeper doesn't need a rest as such, but your other goalkeepers, you kind of got to give them some game time.
Keep them match fit, Mark. Like a goalkeeper needs to kind of play some games as well, Mark. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Shouldn't be waiting.
Like, if something did happen to Hart, like, and they're not playing regular games, do you know what I mean? It's like,
and you get a lot of teams as well, Paul. Sorry, you get a lot of teams as well that nearly give their second keeper the cup games as a. You know, I know it's something that you'd see down in England an awful lot. Like obviously your man Kelleher for Liverpool, he's played a lot of cup games. You'd imagine that Ange would have looked at something like that to, as you said, in the event, God forbid, that Hart did get injured, that all of a sudden it isn't Bain coming in for, say, his second game of the season, you know, further down the line.
Like, I just found this like strange, like, considering Terence that Bain only signed a new contract. Do you know what I mean? And he not even getting looking in the League Cup, like, you know, Scottish Cup.
And it's at a lower level. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if it's like we were playing Aberdeen or something like that.
I'll understand that. Yeah, you would understand why he played Joe Hart then, but like Raith Rovers and Alloa, you would try to train your reserve keeper, though, Mark, would you? You know.
Well, I would, Paul, to be honest, for the reason I gave there, just to give the guys game time.
You know, goals, of course, like the score was 4-0. Scales, Gio, Miida, and Beaton. I must say that was a poor penalty kick by Beaton, but he got the rebound. But the first goal, Terence, like it's not the first time we saw a goal like this from Scales. You know, I know we spoke about Taylor last Thursday and what he brings to him and how improvement, but it's the attacking of Scales that impresses me more so than what he does with Scales.
Yeah, in fairness, he had a fine game now today, Paul, again, and he took his goal very well. I mean, he made some great runs. He's got a cracking left foot. Like, he's put in some great balls and it was a fantastic finish. You know what I mean? Considering that after that Celtic were very, very flat. But I thought Scales had a very solid game, to be fair, and it was if we saw one of the strikers finishing like that, you'd be kind of going, that's a fair place to finish. Like, but it was like top corner. The keeper wasn't getting anywhere near it. Brilliant finish.
Mark, you were very impressed with Scales so far since he's came to Celtic. And today again, Mark, he's shown even his crossing of the ball, Mark, was next to none today. I know there was a few now that kind of went overboard, but he's getting above it in that wing, and he's providing us with a different option that we're seeing of Taylor recently, but we haven't seen it too often from Taylor. But Scales is given that when he comes in, isn't he?
Well, as you said before, Paul, you knew him before he was at Celtic and that, he could play anywhere up the left, so you'd expect him to have like some of the qualities of a winger. But I've been really impressed with him for he came in. Again, I'm not getting back into the full Taylor debate and that, but I would definitely like to see Liam Scales get a bit of a run in that team, Paul. I really would.
Terence, there's a big concern for me with this game, and it's due to the fact that when Ange rests his players and we bring in some of our fringe players, the tempo's not the same. I think this game changed when the likes of Jota came on, Abada came on, Mida came on. It must be concerning, like if for these players to be playing into turns.
It was, but the problem with it, Paul, is the pace of the play was fine till the goal. Once they got the first goal, the pace just seemed to drop for some strange reason. Now, I also have to say, like, how James Forrest lasted as long as he did, I will never know. And the same, I think, if Mikey Johnson is to learn anything, apart from kicking the ball and injuring yourself, I don't know how you do that either. But if Mikey Johnson is to learn anything, is watch Jota. Mikey Johnson seems to have to take 10 touches with the ball before he decides to think get a cross in. The amount of times there today the ball was coming to Jota and he might take one touch and the ball was whipped in. I mean, even you could argue the point even for like Giakoumakis' goal. Like the ball was played out to him. I know some say, well, everyone would play it in. You'd be surprised. Mikey Johnson, for me, takes far too much out of the ball. And James Forrest has been sitting in the end. He was terrible.
I found him, Terence, very selfish today, Mickey Johnson. I found him very selfish.
But that's the way he plays the ball.
Yeah.
Mikey Johnson would be a much better winger if sometimes when the ball came to him first time and it's put in front of him, that he just whipped it in. He always has to take it. And if you watched it today, Raith Rovers, when he got the ball, 2 men went out to him because they knew he wasn't going to cross it first time, and he has to try beat 2 men or 3 men. And like he's not physically strong enough to do it. He's quite a skillful lad, but he's like a one-trick pony. They know what he's going to do. Like, whereas you look at Jota, sometimes it's first time ball, he whips it in. Sometimes he gets it and he takes it and beats the defender like he did once or twice with a bit of fabulous skill. And he has the defender wondering, thinking what he's going to do. You know what Johnson's going to do. Johnson's going to get the ball. He's going to try to take, I don't know how many touches, try beat 2 or 3 fellas if he can. Realistically, he doesn't do it and never gets the ball in. On the same side, James Forrest gets the ball. He rarely goes down the line anymore. He cuts back in and runs straight across in front of everyone. The difference between the 2 wingers that started and the 2 wingers that came on, it's day and night. Like. And it was clearly obvious when the 2 boys came on. Like, well, maybe not so much about it, but when Jota came on, it was clearly different. Like the game, you know.
Mark, do you want to come in there now?
I totally agree with everything Terence says there. I thought James Forrest was abysmal today, Paul. I said how the form he's been on, but that was really the day. And we're talking about Mikey Johnston holding on to the ball, Terence. Many times did Forrest just seem to run across that 18-yard box and do nothing?
He done it every time.
He was just running into a wall of Raith Rovers defenders every single time. That was a terrible performance for him today. It really was. And I like to cut Mikey Johnson a bit of slack. I like to cut Mikey Johnson a bit of slack just because of his age and his injuries. He needs to up his fitness levels, I think, try and get a bit of muscle about him and that. But I'd like to see a fit Mikey Johnson and see fans can do something with him.
Mark, even Paul Hartley said today on Premier Sport that he expected, not expected, he said he thought Mickey Johnson would have went out on loan to get game time, to get his fitness up, because he needs to be playing. You know, he needs to get the fitness up. Like, he needs to get a proper run of games. And looking at the Celtic team, no, he's not going to get that. So
No.
if he's coming in now, the team, and with the injuries, he always seems to be picking up. Like, they're going to continue.
Well, we
because
said
he's
in
not
we
going to be
said
match fit, Mark, yeah?
we
You
said
know?
in January as well, Paul,
Yeah.
that it would be good for him to go out and loan for even as I said, get his fitness up and come back to Celtic in the summer a
With a
bit
run of
fitter.
games behind him, like, yeah.
A run of games, a bit of form behind him, and then let's see what Ange can do with him. Because he's got, for me, it's going to be a kind of stop, start all the time with him, the way things are going.
But at the same time, Mark, like, and I'm not trying to have a pop at him all the time, but like, there's times today where the ball is coming to him and he's in space. Like, you can put the ball in first time.
I know. His decision making is aye.
Like, I saw Terence, like, I saw Skpe is doing that numerous of times today, putting the ball in first time, and the ball was past him. That was his first instinct, was cross the ball. Yeah, I really seen Scales or Yota or even Abada taking about 5-6 touches before they can try to get across the. Do you know what I mean? I know what you're saying, like, you know.
It's just when he's in space. I'm not saying I always just whip the ball in. There's going to be times you take on the man, and you know what I mean. I'd applaud him for that, but you don't do it every single time. Like, how many times did he whip the ball in first time today? I don't know. I can't remember him doing it. Whereas, as I said, you watch Abada on the right when he's generally playing. If the ball is played to him, a lot of times he might take one touch and then whip it in. Jota, okay, might take the ball a bit more, but even Jota will whip the ball in first time. Mikey Johnson needs to bring that into his game for him to develop, in my opinion. You know, he reminds me of a little bit of times he'd frustrate you. He reminds me a little bit of when Aidan McGeady used to play with Celtic at times.
Yes.
He'd have to seem to beat about 4 guys and then try and go back and beat them all again, rather than just whip. When Aidan McGeady used to whip the ball in first time, you'd be surprised the amount of goals that Celtic would score from it, you know? You know, I think Johnson needs to work on that big time.
Yeah, I agree clearly, because, like, you have to question, like, Mark, like, we expected Ange to rest players today, like, but when we're bringing in these fringe players, like you can call Forrest now a fringe player, Mark, because he's not a first team player anymore. When Johnson and Forrest are coming into the team, we're not getting the same effect down the wings as we are with Abada and Yota. You know, the tempo today, Mark, was very slow.
But let's be honest, Paul, we're not going to have an Abada or a Jota kind of standard sitting on our bench, but you're still expecting a lot better than we got for them today. Do you know what I mean? And
I expected better from Forrest, Mark, considering
even his experience, Paul. Do you know what I mean? Again, it's against Raith Rovers. I mean, I don't. Are they not like down near the bottom of the championship?
Yeah, I'd like to know, Mark, how actually fit James Forrest is.
Doesn't it? For me, he looks like that. Maybe he was heavy for a couple of years, a few years back. He's back to. For me, he's back to looking like that as well. I don't think he's coming back for an injury. But how long is it going to take him to get back to like any form of fitness? Because he seems a lot heavier, Paul, than he had been under the last couple of seasons.
Even when we had
there's a mindset there as well, Mark.
Sorry, Terence.
Sorry, I said there's a mindset there as well, Mark.
Aye, definitely. He needs to want to do it, especially at his age, Terence.
There's nothing stopping James Forrest going, when everyone goes home, I know I'm struggling for my fitness, I'll stay and do another hour's training. And the manager watches and sees that and goes, I can see he's tried the effort. Like, Giamakis stayed at Lennoxtown during the winter break and trained. James Forrest could have quite comfortably done that same and taken that same attitude. And you look at Giamakis now; he's running all over the place. So you know, there's a huge mindset. And the other side of it, you could hear Ange today on the sideline, and he was screaming.
Yeah, he wasn't not impressed. No,
he must have been fuming that he had to bring on Jota and Abada and McGregor. He had to bring on these guys because the game was only 1-0 for a long period, and you could see Raith Rovers were getting more and more confident in the game. You know, that team that started should have been able to take care of that business without any of those guys having to come off the pitch.
We shouldn't have what Terence is saying there, Mark. Like, we shouldn't have to bring on or kind of like at one stage, Cal McGregor was going to come on till we got that second goal.
Aye.
Do you know? And
As I said in the live chat,
that he wanted, maybe didn't want that, did we? You
no,
know?
no. And Brian brought it up earlier, and I said it on that as well, Paul. Is our squad actually not as good as we think it is?
No,
We're definitely lacking it. We're definitely lacking in the winger department.
You know, and I'm going back to going back to the defence as well, Mark. Like I thought the defence looked shaky at times.
Welsh was very poor to start the first 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I thought he was very poor to start.
You know,
who's that? Welsh turns.
Yeah, I thought.
I thought he'd a shaky start to the game. Aye.
It's going back to the thing that the three of us have been saying on this podcast since we signed him, is what Starfelt actually brings to the Celtic defence, Mark. A lot of people are hailing Cameron Vickers, and rightly so, but today I think we saw the heading ability of Starfelt and what he actually brings to the Celtic defence. You know?
Aye. But I mean, we've spoke about people. Starfelt was a Whitton boy, but I mean, again, Paul, Welsh should be comfortable playing at that level, Paul. I mean, that's what I keep harping on about it. We need to have squad players that are good enough to play in the SPFL kind of thing. That's our bread and butter. But I mean, against Raith Rovers, they were in that game for a long spell till we made the changes.
Yeah,
there was a few of the days that just didn't really cover themselves in glory for me at all, Paul.
And who were they, Mark? Who were those players?
Well, Welsh had a ropey start and he settled it. Obviously, Johnson wasn't there. I didn't think Johnson had that great a game, but I still say he was better than Forrest, because I thought Forrest was just absolutely abysmal for Forrest. Hattati was a bit quiet as well, wasn't he? You'd expect, again, see, because of the level with their opposition, Paul, you're expecting what we're saying, our squad should be comfortable that we shouldn't need to bring on Joe or Abada to get us in front of them.
Well, I think Ange would have learnt a lot as well today about his squad. I think he would have seen an awful lot today about certain players that he thought, right, let's see if you can step up to the plate in this game. And I'd say he came off going, I'm going to struggle if I have to bring this guy in. I'm going to struggle if I have to bring that guy in. And there's two or three of them there today. You were kind of, if you were Ange, you were kind of thinking, going, okay, I thought this guy, like, this was a chance for some guys to impress, and especially against Raith Rovers. And I felt sorry, because I thought if Celtic had gone 2 or 3 goals up early, they might have had a chance to bring on young. I'm sure Ange in his head was going to bring on young Ben Doak at some stage. That was his plan, I would have imagined.
Oh yeah, exactly. Give young lad run turns, yeah.
Yeah, but because the way the game went, he couldn't bring him on. In a sense, he had to kind of go, geez, I need to see this out. The last thing that Celtic needed was a replay, or I don't know, would it go to extra time and penalties or whatever way it was. But yeah, I'd say Ange this evening now has kind of gone, there's a few of these guys here that, you know, they mightn't get too many other opportunities. I can't see how James Forrest is going to get too many more chances. He's given him goals. He's given him chances, and every time he's played, he's been woeful.
Is there even questioning his effort sitting here, Terence? I mean, we can't fault Mikey Johnson's effort.
No.
I mean, he went out there, unlucky man, he got injured again, but he was putting in a shift. He was looking for the ball.
At least he was trying to run, Mark.
Forrest just wasn't he? Just didn't seem interested.
I'm seeing a lot of stuff from James Forrest, Mark. Things that we criticised him going back years on the forum page is James Forrest cutting in, trying to beat 3 or 4 players and trying to take a shot. You know, and that's what I'm seeing from James Forrest now. Things when I criticised him, you criticised him for years in the past, Mark, and I'm seeing those exact same things now creeping into Forrest's game.
Just regressed that way. Yeah. Just regressed back into that old James Forrest, you know what I mean? And it's even when you look back, Paul, I mean, we Kev 83 into it that used to argue with me about him all the time. When you look back, see, even when he was playing that kind of way, he was still creating chances and he was still getting goals. He's not even doing that anymore.
Like, the only one who really impressed me that came into the team today, is Scales, Mark. It's about the only one, Scales, who actually impressed me of the players that came into the side today. I think Scales was the only one I think who had a solid game. You know.
I'd probably agree with that, to be honest, Paul.
Mm-hmm. But did you even notice as well, like all Raith Rovers attacks in the second half, as you're looking at the telly,
down the right,
was down the left side, down their left side, all right. Forrest never once tracked back. He never once seemed to track back to help out the defence. I don't know what is going on with him, but he had and that was very, very clear. They were continually breaking down our right side, and Forrest was not getting back at any stage. It's like
I even looked, Terence, there.
About him being overweight, like.
I even saw there. You obviously know I'm big into stats, but the stats kind of aren't out yet. The ones I look at anyway. But I caught one briefly up to the one that Yotta came on, and most of all play up until that point was through the centre. There was nothing in the rings, nothing. There was no heat coming down our rings as before. That was that's our main area where the heat match would be, you know.
Yeah, but that shows it. And in fairness, it's like Mark said. I'm not his biggest fan, but at least Johnson tried today. Like it was Forrest offered just nothing. I mean, you know, Johnson put in a shift, he put in an effort. Still, I think there's a long way to go for that lad. But my God, James Forrest, for an experienced player like him, who's been around the block for a long, long time, if that's the level of performance he thinks he's going to be putting in when he's playing with Celtic, he isn't going to be playing with Celtic for very long. It was awful.
Mark, there's a thing I want to talk about as well, and I think it's important. We talk about the show that we're not biased towards the referees when decisions go our way, but I think Raith Rovers can feel hard done by us getting a penalty and their penalty not being given in the first half.
I think you get both of them, both the calls rang, Paul. Raith Rovers should have had a penalty. I totally agree. But we shouldn't have, basically. I don't think we should have had a penalty.
No, I thought, like, when I saw our penalty and I look back to Raith Rovers in the first half, like, it's clear that Vickers, Mark, went in. I think, Mark, if that was in the Premiership game, I think that penalty was given. It's only the fact that we were playing Raith Rovers, I think, that penalty wasn't given. You know?
Maybe, I mean, I don't know. Who was that referee? What kind of level was he, Paul?
He's Premiership ref.
He's Premiership man.
Oh, is he?
A few matches now. Yeah, he went.
And not only that, but when he gave the penalty against Raith Rovers, he booked
him on the wrong man. Yeah.
If he had booked the guy who handled the ball, he would have been sent off.
And then the commentators tried to. The word coming for pitch side it was this guy that gave. How would they know the word coming for pitch side? And then because the camera went to the fourth official and he was just standing there, so nobody was running about him to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Listen, he's a Premiership referee, Mark. He refereed. Wasn't he the referee that refereed? Remember when Celtic Livingston
Nick Walsh, right? Nick Walsh, right? Right, I don't know who it was. I couldn't picture him there just when we were talking about him, but there, Rob McNair saying Nick Walsh, right? I know who it is now.
Just going by, there is something that Brian brought up, and I have it written down as well. I don't know, did you notice that at the start of the game, Julian up against the post, kind of the commentators were talking about it, saying he looked a bit pissed off, maybe he wasn't starting. Paul Hartley and Michael Stewart said that he should be starting to get him up to match fitness. Chris Sutton actually disagreed. He says, what has Julian justified for Ange to drop Starfelt, even Welch, or even Calvin Vickers, Mark, for Julian? Now, I'm delighted to see him come on, but for me, I see the three boys ahead of Julian, Mark, and I wouldn't even dare drop Starfelt or Cameron Vickers at the moment for Julian.
No, I don't think Julian should just walk straight back into the team. For me, Stephen Welsh is our main backup centre back. And I've said he had a bit of a stroppy start today, Paul, but as I said, you can't kind of hold that against young players when they're still learning their trade kind of thing. It's not as if he gave away any kind of goals or anything like that. It was just he was a bit
Welch
loose.
will be a better defender than Julian anyway, Mark.
Aye,
Do you know what I mean?
he's going to be here longer than Julian as well. So I totally agree with Chris Sutton in saying that Julian needs to prove in training that he's up to the task, fitness wise, up to the task of fitting into Angie's system and playing that way. And then he's got to wait to get his chance to get that.
Who hasn't played since December 2020, and just what you said there, Sutton said the exact same terms. He said, how fit actually is Julian? You know?
Well, you said he picked up a knock just the other week, Paul, as well.
An England one, yeah.
But it's still a knock from a player that we're waiting to get back. Do you know what I mean?
Kept him out of the bench back for 2 games.
Aye.
You know, but you're right, Paul, there was no way that Ange could have started him. Because, like you're saying, Welch is, if you want to call it, the backup to the two lads, Starfelt
and he knows how they play it as well, Terence, yeah.
Yeah, but Julian has to prove himself. But you're not going to, there's no way that Julian could have expected to come into a game without having started the game in 14 months. I'll go back to the point. I think if Celtic had been comfortable and they got 3 or 4-0 up after 60 minutes, Ange would have probably brought him on. He might have probably brought him on. He probably had intentions of bringing him on at some stage to give him a run. No question about it. But the notion that he was going to start, and if it is a case that he's leaning against the sky, the cameras went once or twice in the dugout, and he looked fairly miserable now in the dugout, to be fair. But that you don't need that attitude, and Ange wouldn't tolerate that attitude either in the squad. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's the two boys and Welch's third choice at the minute.
Just on that as well.
Basically, training.
You Terry. Right. Yeah. Just on that as well. Look at our last cup game. Look at the physicality in that game. The many injuries we picked up in that game. What if Ange is thinking, right? What if this is going to be like that again? What if it had turned into that kind of game and he started Julian, and the next time Julian's crocked off, injured for another? Do you get what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, Ange's a cup game against a lower league team. I kind of no underestimate Alloa, but he wasn't expecting that kind of. Do you know? I mean, some we've been out at the time, some of the tackles and things like that. So maybe Ange just thought it was maybe going to be that kind of game as well, and didn't want to risk Julian in it.
I think anyway, Mark.
He's dead right.
You're looking
he's dead right. He's dead right not to do it. You know what I mean? It's like you said. I mean, Welch needs game time, though, Mark, because the problem is if one of the two boys did pick up an injury, a hamstring injury or something like that, I'd rather Welch come in who's been fit all season and been there involved all season, where Julian's only just coming back. I'd much rather. And
there you are then,
who's up to match fitness.
There you are then, something that we've been speaking about for months in the podcast is the youth development. And if it's Celtic fans saying Julian has to play, there you are then pissing off another youngster, Mark, who's going to go, right, I'm not getting another look in here, I'm gone. Do you know what I mean? And
showing that he's capable of doing a job,
yeah,
Paul.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's not as if it's a guy like that, Welsh struggles constantly, so he's not very good. No, I mean, he's not really put a foot rank for a young player, Paul. So I don't see why all of a sudden, just because Julian's fit, it should be him that's back in the squad. So for me, I said it earlier in the live chat, Paul, this is a big 6 months for Julian. I mean, his contract's out this summer, but the next Celtic's got a decision to make this summer. Do they sell him on for, I don't even know what kind of money we could get for him after the injury problems he's had and that, or do we wait a year and see if he's going to progress and try and get him to sign up another contract during the year?
There's a big thing, Mark. I remember Barry said to us when he was on the podcast, the big thing for any defensive pairing is partnership. And you can see between the three lads, whoever plays, maybe it's Vickers or Starfelt, Walsh, or vice versa, the three of them understand each other. Now, Julian, fair enough, he's been in around the training ground stuff, but he hasn't played. And for me, it's a risk, Mark, just throwing Julian straight into the first team, and then you are starting a whole brand new partnership that mightn't even work.
No, because it's going to take Julian time to get A, up to speed with his fitness, and B, up to speed with the way Ange wants the game to be played. mean, I know he's been training, but I mean, how long's he been on the training pitch for now, Paul? Maybe just after Christmas time,
Just
kind of
after
thing.
Christmas, man.
These other, I mean, look at Giamakis, look at James McCarthy. They didn't have pre-seasons and stuff like that, and just said about how hard it is to get them up to the.
I honestly think Mark Julian won't be fully fit at least till the end of the season, considering the injury he had, Mark.
No,
there's no way he's 100% fit anyway.
Not to play a 90-minute game the way Ange expects a game to be played, Paul.
Oh.
It took Scales. Look how long it took Scales to speed. And
he was playing week in, week out already, Terence.
He'd been playing with Shamrock Rovers and he'd been playing in Europe, and he still came in and still took him a long time. If you listen to any of the guys that were there, you met Origi, who's gone out. He said he couldn't believe the intensity of the training. So Julian's out for 14 months. Like, it certainly is, I agree with you, Paul. It's going to take him a while. I think Julian will be, at the greatest respect to him, a bit part player for the rest of the season, I would think. Because the games are going to take it fast. Like,
just touching something you said there, Terence, and I keep a track of all our kind of loan pairs and stuff like that. Uragidi had a debut to Figues in the Belgium League yesterday.
At half time, wasn't he?
Yeah, I believe he was. I don't know. Didn't kind of step up to the mark at all. Terence said there, Mark, he was ripped off at half time, and it was kind of something that he needs to put behind him and get back. I would have liked to see him, Mark, loaned out to a Scottish team rather than a team over in Belgium.
Aye, I prefer that if players were getting out and loan to a Scottish team, Paul, or even maybe into the English Championship or something like that.
Like a more physical game, Mark, that's more suited to our players. Like, Shaw was a great transfer. Do you know what I mean? He's staying in the league, and but look, a win's a win.
Oh, that's the thing.
And that's what you need in these cup games, Mark. And that's what I think we've seen on the Ange. We win when we're not playing well, and that's the main thing, isn't it?
Oh, the substitutions made all the difference today, Paul. I mean, it was. Just saying about the wingers, the two wingers that came on, that's what totally changed the game for me when they changed the wingers.
Pass, Mark, from Hayata to Yata and Yata to G-Back, that was a well taken goal. That was a good team goal.
That pass was a thing of beauty, Paul. That really was. I mean,
it's opened up the defence, didn't it?
But I thought the defender was going to get it. It was like one half a stride away from getting it, kind of thing. It was absolutely inch perfect. Beautiful to watch that.
Do you know what was posed well today, Terence? Or corner kicks without Jovanovic. They're taking the things. There was some stages there we couldn't even beat the first man again.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the distribution of O'Reilly in particular when he.
O'Reilly as well. Yeah, O'Reilly. Corners. So many players. I'm forgetting who we have.
Yeah. And he generally puts it in on the spot. No, as we haven't scored, but it's a lot more dangerous than what we do today. You could see, like, I mean, there was one or two. Even Jota hit one, and it was miles past everyone. So they're. But to me, Paul, it showed a glaring difference between your first.
Yeah, it did. I'm
going to say maybe 15 players, and those outside the first 15. You know what I mean? There's such a difference in quality. It's
like you looking right
to the guy to
what we talked about there. Myself and Mark, Terence, you on us as well. I say no with players leaving. I say Mark. I say we might have a squad of about roughly 25 players now. I say, but the players that have left, maybe 30. And it's like what Terence said there. Max out of them, you only have about 15 or 18 players maybe that can actually step up into the first team and keep up the way Ange wants to play.
Aye. As I said earlier, Paul, is the squad as good as we think it is? I mean, we've said, that's a good team. It's the other night was like, that's a good team. It's one of the best benches in a long while and that. But there we see what's sitting there with your Mikey Johnsons and James Forrest and that. Do you know what I mean? Just, I see what Terence said earlier. I don't think Ange had any intention of putting him on.
No.
I really don't think that was his intention. I think the game
Mark, was
plan
strong
would.
enough to beat that team today, Mark, and they should have beaten that
They should
team
have been.
well.
They should have been.
You know, and I think that's the concern that just what Terence just said there. Like these players just really aren't good enough, Mark, and it's a pity that we actually can't rest players, that we have to bring them on to beat the likes of Raith Rovers. You know.
I think McGregor was a big miss for us today as well. I mean, he did. I mean, fair dues, beating does his job well, but McGregor kind of sets the pace and sets the tempo of the team.
He's
in
captain
that,
as well, Mark. Like exactly, like he's the captain as well, Mark. And as you said, like Bison, I think as well, Mark. It's not to do with Bison, but he's a slower player in the way he uses the ball than McGregor. You know,
but it's a totally different type of player for me, Paul. We speak about how McGregor does that deep line playmaker role. Beaton's no, he's like, for me, he's like your old fashioned new really, isn't it? Just like your CDM kind of thing, like your Wanyama or somebody like that idea.
McGregor's like your top class quarterback, isn't he? He's like he just sits there. McGregor's like a top class quarterback. He just sprays left, right. So the difference is unbelievable when you watch him playing. Like,
and with him doing that, it raises the tempo of how we're attacking in that terms. With McGregor always looking for these passes, whereas Beaton's, that's not his job. So he's kind of winning the ball and looking for somebody to pass to get the move started. He's not the move starter himself. I think we really miss McGregor at playing that kind of role today.
Moving on. Terence now is going to go through the fixture list confusion after the split. Terence, do you want to take it?
Yeah, it was just something I saw there the other day, Paul. And I'll try to explain it. It's a bit long-winded, but basically
that's why I gave it to you, because imagine how many notes I would have in that. We'd be here all night.
Yeah.
That was a punishment for laughing at him last other night, Terence.
Yeah, wait till he sees what he has in line for you next week, man. But like as we all know, there's obviously the split comes after 33 games, and they're saying that there's a system, a mathematical flaw there that could allow a team to play 20 home games or 20 away games. But obviously the SPL try and make sure that Celtic and Rangers play 19 each, right? And obviously the two derbies, home and away. But the way it's panning out this season, Celtic could be in trouble and could be finding themselves having to play a third away game against the likes of Hibs or Motherwell or Aberdeen because of the way the system has fallen. Because at the break, come the split, Rangers will have played 17 home games and 16 away games. And Celtic would have played 16 home games and 17 away games. Right? So, and the way it is at the minute, the way the system is at the minute, the league is obviously Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Dundee United are 33, Motherwell are 33, St Mirren are 6th and 32, and they have a game in hand. Hibs 31, Livingston 30, Aberdeen 29 with a game in hand. Now I went through and I looked at it all, and Celtic have played Hearts, Rangers, Livingston, Aberdeen, Motherwell, Hibs, all twice away already this season. They've only played Hearts at home once. They've played Rangers at home once. I know they're going to play them. They've played Dundee United at home twice. They've played Motherwell at home once. St Mirren at home twice. Hibs at home once. Livingston at home once. Now, Celtic's next three games, or Celtic's next few games at home, are Dundee United, St Mirren, Ross County, and St Johnstone. And their next three away games are Hibs, Livingston, and Rangers. Right? Take that into consideration what Rangers have. Rangers have played all the top six sides, or nearly all of them at home. They'll be playing Celtic twice at home. They've played Hearts twice at home. They've played Dundee United once, Motherwell twice, St Mirren once, Hibs twice, Livingston twice, and Aberdeen twice. And their remaining games that they have left to play are Motherwell at home, Aberdeen at home, Celtic at home. They're away to Dundee United, St Johnstone, Dundee, and St Mirren. So the way it's going to pan out, because there's going to be 5 games left, if the likes of Aberdeen wind up in the top 6, it could pan out that Rangers will get a third home game against the likes of Aberdeen, Hibs, or Motherwell, where Celtic may have to travel away to the likes of an Aberdeen or a Motherwell again for a third time. So Rangers have played all the top 6 teams pretty much at home at least nearly twice. Celtic have played hardly any of them at home twice. And when the split comes in with the 5 games, because the league is going to wind that way, there's going to be 3 games, 2 games at home, 3 away, or 3 away and 2 at home. The way it's going to pan out is that Rangers will more than likely get to play Hibs for a third time at home, which is unbelievable. Or Motherwell, they could get to play either of 2 of them for a third time at home, where Celtic would have to go away and play a third game away to one of the sides in the top 6. So play a team again the third time, like Aberdeen, like Hibs, like Hearts, and at the minute, as I said, the way it pans out, the top 9 teams, there's from 4th, which is Dundee United, to 33, to Aberdeen, who have a game in hand, is 29. There's nothing in it between those from 4th to 9th. So the only way that Celtic will get out of it, I think, is if St Mirren manage to stay in 6th. Celtic have only played St Mirren away once.
And so how would the SBS say this happened, Terence?
They didn't really say it, Paul. They said they have to try and basically get a situation in play where Celtic have to play another away game. No, Celtic have to play another away game. It's after the split, so they have to play another away game against one of the top sides they've already played away twice.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Rangers will get to play one of the top 6 sides at home for a third time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, as I said, the only.
It's just basically a case you like it or lump it, Terence. That basically
it is, Mark. It is, and if you looked at even the remaining fixtures that are left, Celtic are home to Dundee, St Mirren, Ross County, St Johnstone. With the greatest respect, all teams kind of, apart from St Mirren, all teams in the bottom tier. But yet they're away to Hibs, Livingston, and Rangers, teams that are nearly in the tops, that fighting for top 6. Whereas Rangers are at home to Motherwell, Aberdeen, Celtic, all teams that are fighting at the top 6, and away to St Johnstone, Dundee, St Mirren. I know St Mirren are thereabouts, and Dundee United. So I was looking through it all, and I was kind of going, it looks like how they can get to a situation where Celtic have to possibly play a third game away to one of the top 6, and Rangers get to play a third game at home against one of the 6. As I said, it's likely could be Hibs or Motherwell for Rangers, that they're going to get to play them at home for a third time, as opposed to them having to go to Easter Road. Like Rangers away games against those top teams, they're going to play Celtic twice, and they're going to play Dundee United twice, and they're going to play St Mirren twice. Obviously, that's natural. But they've only played Hibs or Hearts once away. They've only played Motherwell once away. They've only played Hibs once away. They've only played Livingston once away. They've only played Aberdeen once away. So when the split comes, but because obviously, as we all know, it's the top 5, the top 6 teams will play against each other. There's going to be, if you were to go by this, Rangers would technically nearly have 1 home game and 4 away, but it doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. So they're basically at a massive advantage. And when I was reading it, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, of course. They're tough away games, 2 turns for us if we have to go away to Aberdeen or Motherwell again. They're tough games, It
is, Paul, because the fact that, as I said, the fact that Celtic have played 2 home games at Hearts, 2 away games, at Hearts. They'll have 2 away games at Rangers, understandable. They've had 2 away games at Livingston, 2 away games at Aberdeen, 2 away games at Motherwell, 2 away games at Hibs. That's, do you know what I mean? It's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 of Celtic's 19 games in the split. And if you count St Mirren, will be against the better sides. That's 12 out of 19. If you look at the ones Rangers have, they've played all the lesser sides, and all the stronger sides they've played at home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they haven't played any of the bigger sides. They've only played Hibs once, Livingston once, Aberdeen once away from home. And again, even the remaining fixtures, I was there looking at it. Rangers are home to Motherwell, Aberdeen, Celtic. Away to St Johnstone, away to Dundee, away to St Mirren, away to Dundee United. Whereas Celtic are away to Hibs, Livingston, and Rangers, and at home to Dundee, St Mirren, County, St Johnstone.
And looking at the next season, Terence, will this this glitch here now have a knock-on effect to next season?
Well, it shouldn't have a knock-on effect in any season. The problem that you have with it, Paul, is like it reads like even with the remaining few games, Celtic have all the teams in the top 6 pretty much, and away, and they have the lower sides at home. Rangers have all the majority of sides that are the top 6 sides at home, and all the lower sides away. And how it's got to a situation where Rangers were this far into the season, and the likes of Rangers have only played Hibs, Livingston, Aberdeen, Motherwell, and Hearts once.
Yeah.
Is unbelievable after 19 games. Yet Celtic they can fit Celtic to play 2 games against most of those sides.
Mark,
it stinks like.
Mark, do you want to come in there?
Oh, definitely. I can't really get my head around it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, obviously, Terence has read out. I mean, notice what he's talking about, but there must be some kind of explanation for this, Terence.
They said it's a mechanical. It was a glitch in the computer system, I think, Terence. When they said that, then there was some glitch. But my thing is, like, people are actually looking at this computer when these fixtures are done. So, hope to be a glitch when someone's physically looking at the screen when these fixtures are done before the split at the start of the season. Do you know what I mean?
A computer will only do what you tell it today, Paul.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like they've made an excuse by saying that they basically said the system contains a built-in mathematical flaw, which means teams being given either 20 home games or 20 away games. So the way it's going to pan out is, the way it reads is that Celtic are going to play 20 away games and 18 home games, and Rangers are going to play 20 home games and 18 away games. That's two games. That's a huge difference. And especially the fact is, it's one thing to play 20 away games and the other team playing 18, whatever it is. But the problem is the away games that you're talking about. The away games you're talking about are the teams in the top 6. With the greatest respect, it's not an away game to Dundee and St. Johnson. You know, I mean that.
It's obviously the better teams the higher up the league, Terence. The split's just a stupid thing altogether. I don't know why they brought.
I just want to ask you that, Mark. Like, just come out of this fixture thing for a minute, right? And we talk about the split. Like, I actually don't know, like that I've watched anyway of any professional league doing a split like that.
It's the Belgian league not get something weird that they do as well, Paul. I think maybe the Belgian league does something a bit weird, but I don't know what purpose it serves, Paul. But it really doesn't.
Does it give the teams down the bottom, Mark, maybe a bit of chance to get out of the relegation zone, or you know that they're not playing the big teams then, or something like that?
Well, I mean, even if before, I'm sure, Paul, that sometimes like the 7th team, see after the split's been done, the 7th team has had more points than the 6th team. I'm sure that has happened on maybe more than even one occasion, Paul. And see 30 teams at that level, that's maybe a lot of money to them, Paul. That difference in a one league position. I don't know, it's just a stupid thing. It makes what people going about the Scottish League, it's a bit of a joke or a Mickey Mouse League. Doing this kind of thing doesn't help that.
Like,
do you know what I mean? It doesn't.
In Ireland, it'll be. Is it the second from the bottom terms of the Premier League will play the runners up in the first division in the playoff to see who qualifies and who goes down from the Premiership, isn't it?
We do that, do we know? That's how Motherwell kept Rangers doing.
My Bodo will do the same. Like, I like that idea.
That's how Motherwell kept Rangers in the Championship that year.
This split to me, Mark, it just is. I don't see the purpose in it, like, really, you know what I mean? And I was reading just what Terence was going on there about the fixture. Remember, Buzzbomb was actually saying something about that on the forum page, and he was actually saying that this could still have a knock-on effect to next season, Mark, until it's fixed. You know?
Aye, well, Buzz has been well. He's been all over this, hasn't he, wee man, sir?
Like at the split in the and I looked at the table and wrote it out there. The top 9 on the top 9 teams. I know there's only 12 in it, but of the top 9 teams, Celtic have played the teams 14 times. Right? Rangers have only played those top side, the 9 sides, 11 times. That's 3 games. How is there that much? How is there that much of a disparity between the two of them? There's only 33 matches, and yet there's a disparity of 3 games. That's huge, like. Do you know what I mean? To be one team to have 11 away games, and against those top 9 sides, and another team to have 14, like it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Like, do you know, it should what happened to the day where Celtic are home this week, Rangers are away. Celtic are away, Rangers are home. What, like, do you know what I mean? It's not that
you play each team home and away. Bobby said we need to play 44 games. Well, that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do, in my opinion.
This I just got up there. What Bawz says, Mark. The only way to solve this fixture unfairness is to do away with the split altogether, as it serves no purpose whatsoever. The person or persons who came up with this idea should not be involved in anything to do with football. It's supposed to be a level playing field, but when you have certain visits to certain teams 3 times in a season, where's the fairness in that? Like, I think like that's the only way I can see it. Like, because I actually don't see this split as any purpose in the Scottish League, Mark. Do you know what I mean? You know?
Yeah. I think as well, Paul, that there must be some kind of rule to govern that.
Yeah. You know?
I mean, is a league breaking its own rules doing this?
I don't know. I have to look into it, yeah. Like, terms like, is there any way, maybe, like, what you said there, and when you told us this next week, when you sent us, was can we talk about it? And I asked you, like, is there any way we can fix this? Like, a thing like you said, maybe if Celtic actually played an extra home game now, maybe that might think, but that's not going to happen, I don't think, with it.
Well, it obviously probably can't, no, Paul, because they want it to be 8 and 19. So I that's what I did say to you. I would have thought that maybe they could have pushed in a game for, I don't know whether it's Rangers or Celtic or one of the teams to play a game that seems to be stand out before the split. But obviously then they won't have, one will have a game played more than the other one. So I don't know. I mean, obviously the remaining games, bring it up to the split and bring it up to the even numbers of the 33 games before the split. But basically the long and the short of it is, it looks like it's Celtic going to have 20 away games and 18 home games, and Rangers are going to have 20 home games and 18 away games.
Mark, an interesting. Go on, Tom, sorry.
Sorry, Paul. The problem is, as I keep saying, is it's the away game that Celtic are going to have to play. They're going to be away to Dundee United because they've only played them once, and they're going to be away to Rangers. But so then their likelihood is they'll be at home. They could be at home to Hibs, and maybe, for argument's sake, if Aberdeen get into it or someone like that. But Celtic could conceivably be away to the likes of Livingston. They could be away to the likes
of... It's a thought, yeah. I'd be more, of all the teams, I'd be more afraid going away to Livingston Towns.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, Paul. But it's the fact that it's come to this, that Celtic will have to play an extra game away to a side that's going to finish in the top 6 is massively unfair and very, very unprofessional. And you kind of think something doesn't sit right with it. And as I said, one team has played 14 away games so far, and another will have played 14 away games by the split, and the other team will have played 11. So that's ridiculous. Like,
moving on, and I think we'll talk about this, Mark, as the split comes on, and we kind of find out more about it, because I'm sure more details will come out about this nearer to the split, I think.
More details about what?
No, more details about maybe when the split happens, like what's actually going to happen. Like, you know? I
mean, for me, everything. I mean, I've kept up with Buzz has been seen on the forum, but Terence has covered it well there as well. And,
fairness, yeah.
He really has, but Celtic should be asking this kind of question.
Mark, I always thought the way was because of the TV deals with Sky was every team plays twice at home and twice away. You know what I mean?
Well, I thought that. I just thought every league was ran like that. But you get that?
Like that, yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Bobby Sutherland saying he's seen something regarding Sky the other day. They've already shown 6 more Rangers games than us live.
Oh, I agree with it, Mark. Anytime I see Celtic play, Mark, and I'm looking at the TV, they're never on Sky. Do you know what I mean?
But back, see what Tern said. That get back right. It used to be Celtic were home 1 week. They were away. They were away. Then Celtic. Do you get what I mean? And whoever the away team was, that was the game. It was on the telly. For years, that's how it kind of worked. Do you know what I mean? And there, it just if that's 6 more games. I mean, Bobby's he'll know that. He'll know it's true. He wouldn't have said it. So it just shows you again that the system isn't working right. I mean, that Sky just. One of the biggest mistakes Scottish football made as well was going back to Sky. It really was, because BT were presenting it a lot better, showing a lot more interest and a lot more evenness across the board. Do you know what I mean? And they went back to Sky, and it's just went back as bad as ever, man. I think Sky just looked at it.
They're not even getting
they can just piss. They can just piss others now, and we'll just take it. It's ridiculous. They don't help. If we speak about it, the guys that run Scottish football don't help. I mean, these guys that own football clubs, right? Look, I mean, Dermot Desmond's a billionaire. Other guys on the board are millionaires and that. And you've got guys that have got enough money to buy Aberdeen. You've got Dougie Park at Rangers. And all these guys can't come together and sort out a decent TV package for Scottish football. Do you know what I mean? And even down to, because you can't tell me if somebody phoned up Dermot Desmond and Dougie Park and says, here, look, I'm looking for a package, going to get the SPL but beamed into America, it'll bring in £50 million a year. Would you fancy meeting up for lunch? The two of them would be at lunch. They'd be there, do you know what I mean? It's just crazy, and it's these guys that just game in Scotland's kind of just stagnating a lot, Paul. Do you know what I mean? There's no guys with a vision of how to move the game as such forward and better it and make it more appealing to.
Sure, Mark. I think we can see that, Mark, by having the people who are running Scottish football don't have an idea, by not even having a reserve league.
I know that's.
And I saw there the other day that the likes of Aberdeen and Hibernians now want to bring in a B team next season. So,
and we spoke about that, Paul. With these teams, with Celtic and Rangers setting the standard, and all the rest are going to follow. So the league's just going to be full of the B teams anyway.
That's what I'm going to say, Mark. Like, do you think the Lowland leagues then will accept 4 cold teams in their league? Do you know what I mean? I can't see that happening.
No, because but saying there about the amount of teams getting into the league, if we wanted to play an even number of games, these teams as well, it's they'll get more money, more income, but there's going to be teams that are going to have to drop down like even lower level than that to accommodate them.
I think maybe, Mark, what the SPL are hoping, maybe the clubs set up this league themselves and they finance it, and so the SPL won't have to pull any kind of financial support into it.
Well, I wouldn't see. For me, Paul, then that should be part of your youth development.
Yeah.
And see the thing about it, see money that you put into youth development, your youth set, that doesn't come into your financial fair play regulations and stuff like that.
No.
So why
it's
don't?
It's a win for your club anyway, Mark. Doing something like that.
So again, why can't these businessmen come together and put together a B league?
Yeah.
Get in touch with all the other clubs. Get right through the full of Scottish football, even, Paul, and just see what the interest is. Maybe even teams in the Championship maybe like to put in like a youth team. Do you get what I mean?
Of course they would.
There's teams like,
players then playing
that's it. Look at the amount of young boys that are in the Ackies Academy and things like that.
Going to make the leagues, Mark, throughout Scotland, then even better, because the young players are playing at a higher quality of player when they're playing against Celtic or do you know what I mean?
Getting scouted, maybe players getting scouted, maybe getting picked up for some team, a young player getting picked up with your Aberdeen or Hibs or something like that. Maybe would never have get the chance to get spotted playing against them.
Scout these players.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? That's how Celtic scouted the Irish players years and years ago, because they came off to Ireland and like they have their scouts here in Ireland. I know who they are, but they watch these Munster Senior League turns, isn't this? They watch these. They watch
the
these
FAI,
games. Yeah.
FAIs and all that, like, yeah.
Yeah, they watch these games, like, and that's how. And how are you supposed to keep your eye mark on a youngster in Scotland when you don't even have a proper league system for him? Do you know?
No, that's it, Paul. That's how I'm kind of wondering.
Yeah.
Where did Bayern Munich spot Ryan Morrison?
I think, Mark, it was. I honestly think, Mark, that could have been in the data such that you ran about before, Mark, because they're beacon to that Bayern Munich, like.
Maybe it was through that.
He's obviously a schoolboy international, Mark. I'm assuming he's played
It's under Scotland under 17s as well, Terence. Yeah.
So they've probably seen him play with Scotland under 17s, and they've probably watched him a good few times, and they're probably gone, "Oh, I like to look at this kid. What's his story?" And then they go, "Well, he's at Celtic. He's actually doing nothing." And they go, "We ask the question: Do you want to come here? Look what we have. Look at this. We have this league. We have a B league. We have a reserve league. We have a 21s league. Whatever it is. This is what we have. This is the plans we have. This is the way we're going to go forward with it. This is what we hope for you to do in the future." So they obviously look at the underage systems as they use internationals, whether it's 16s or 17s or 18s or whatever, Mark. I'm assuming that's where that young lad was spotted, and they thought, this lad looks tidy. Let's keep an eye on him. Let's see what he's doing. And when he's obviously doing nothing at Celtic, with the greatest respect for him, it was a no-brainer once Bayern Munich came in.
Exactly.
And they have a plan, and they have a league, and they have something in front of them. You know what I mean?
Moving on, Celtic have released their interim PLC financial report from the 31st of December. The key operational items were currently first in the Premier SPL, winners of the Premier Sports League Cup, 19 home fixtures, 2020, 117, partition in the Europa League group stage, and qualification into the knockout stages of the Conference League. Key financial revenue increased by 29.9% to £52 million. 2020 was £40.7 million. Profits from trading was 7 million lost, down 3 million. Profit from transfers and registration, shown as profit on disposable, was 25 million, an increase from 2020. Acquisition of players, 16.8 million. Period end net cost in the bank, 25.6 from 19.7 million in 2020. Mark, I'll come to you first. Before we go on to the financial side of it, we just talk about the operational side of it. Like, when Andrew's brought in, did you think that we'd have the first trophy of the season in the bag? In my opinion, we had a good Europa League considering the group that we were in. We've European football after Christmas next week against Bodo Glimt, and we're first in the Premier League, and we're in the quarterfinals of the Scottish Cup. The players he brought in, 19 million spent, Mark, 20 million spent on the players he brought in. Pretty much, Mark, he's doing a heck of a job, isn't he? And
he's doing better than I expected, Paul.
Yeah.
He honestly is. I hold my hands up. Although, say that as soon as his name came up, I said that all along. That was our main priority.
And anything else is a bonus, Mark, isn't this?
And I always thought once we'd looked into him, we would get signings in the summer. I thought we had a good chance at the league. Maybe just a wee bit too much, but I thought we would give them a right good run for our money. But no, I think it's yours to lose, Paul. Really, I don't think anybody. If we do, we know we can do. The league will be ours, Paul. Basically, I don't think anybody in Scotland can stop us if we play every week the way we know that we can play.
Terence Nicholson said, John, that he said he has to give credit to Ange. So when he came into the club, there was no first team 11. He fielded a very weakened team in the Hearts game. He said he told us the players we wanted. We wanted to get those players for him. We got those players for him in the first transfer window. We got more players in the second transfer window that Ange wanted. Celtic have really, not just the fans, but I think the board as well, have bought into Ange and what his visions are for the club.
Yeah, without a doubt, Paul. And from everything that you hear when you hear an interview, when I'm talking about certain aspects of it, there seems to be, which is great, there seems to be a very, very good working relationship between Ange and Michael Nichols, which is massive, and the fact that Ange seems to be the main man, that's a huge thing, as opposed to Michael Nicholson's not.
Yeah, I think that's the key terms, isn't it? That they're letting Ange do the football things, isn't it?
Yeah, like if it was Lawwell still there, Lawwell would still be bigger than Ange. Whereas it's and I said this before, the beauty about it that seems to be so good is Michael Nichols is running Celtic's business side. Ange has been left to run the football side. And we're required, they're coming together, and he's saying to him, look, I've identified this guy, I need this, and this. This is roughly how much they're going to cost. And they're coming together and they're going, yeah, no problem, we can do that for you. And I think that's why there's such a successful chemistry between the both of them, it appears to be, because every time someone is talking about a particular player or transfer window or anything, Ange is always making very, very sure and clear to say how good Michael Nichols has been, how good the board has been to support him in basically the acquisitions he's been getting. So, I think it's working. It's been working perfectly, and I mean, it's credit to Ange for obviously identifying or whoever has identified him, and at the same time, there has to be credit to the board for backing him, because they got in the guys early, especially in this transfer window, which Celtic are renowned for being very, very slow, or getting maybe a last day loan in and
getting everyone in done before the transfer to finish to get them to settle in and everything terms this time.
Yeah, it was all the Japanese boys were, as soon as the first day opened, they were literally landing or on their way to Glasgow. So we
announced the signings before the window was even open.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So you can only applaud the Celtic board and they got their work done so early. Like,
what I thought as well, Mark, was good was when the Australian lad, McGree, is this Riley McGree or something like that, wasn't interested.
Yeah.
We already had, I didn't expect it, we had O'Reilly set up already to just come in that we didn't get, you know what I mean? So not only were we looking for players, Mark, but we seem to have a proper backup as well this time, and we didn't buy players, Mark, just for the sake of it, to fill our squad, you know. And just going back to what Terence has said, Nicholson is doing what he needs to be doing in the financial side, and he's letting the football side to Ange. Is what we always kind of asked for, was for the CEO to stay out of the football matters, you know.
I think that's what should be happening, Paul. We wouldn't have been in the mess we were in last season if it had happened.
You know, I think it's great, like that Mark Ange speaks fondly of Nicholson, you know, because like I found it strange, Mark, when Dominic McKay left and when Nicholson was appointed interim CEO. And Ange said that he's been dealing with him a lot since he came into the club, you know.
Well, he was kind of a finance guy, wasn't he? So he would have a lot of input on that, what money was available to spend.
I was looking at like what kind of influence did actually Don McKay have, Mark, when he came into. I think, Mark, looking back, I think we could have actually been in a real mess if Dominic McKay stayed on, you know.
Well, I don't know.
Can't call that.
You can't really. No, it wasn't. I mean, it really wasn't even.
Jesus Christ! I called John Kennedy last season. You know what I mean?
But I mean, he wasn't even here long enough for us to really form an opinion on him. I mean, he came out with Ange in the press conference, and I mean, the two of them talked the talk.
No, but just going on what they were saying, Mark, that like what we heard of him, like that he was out of his depth there. Do you know what I mean? Like David Desmond supposedly wasn't happy with the way he was doing stuff. We're just going what we're hearing. Like,
I know, Paul, but see, that's down to the board then. I mean, let's not be kidding. This isn't a guy turning up at a job interview and saying, do you know, I mean, this was a long process, so that should have been, if he wasn't going to be big enough, and then he came in and worked with Peter Lawwell, so if he wasn't going to be big enough to fill Peter Lawwell's shoes, surely that should have been flagged up before he actually took her permanently.
I wouldn't believe a huge amount of that, no, Paul, because as Mark is saying, for a CEO position in any company, first of all, the likelihood is the individual is headhunted. Secondly, the likelihood is they've gone through numerous interviews and discussions, and they've had chats with in this case Dermot Desmond and Ian Bankia and the board and the whole lot. So I know what they were saying. They weren't happy with him in X, Y, and Z. It's something we'll never know. But they're not going to come out and say, well, yeah, he was really, really good, but we just things didn't work out. They have to paint the picture that they weren't happy with him, and he had to move on. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, things must be.
I mean, when it first came out, the kind of, and let's not be kidding, there was a lot of kind of people that are like the in folk on Twitter and that way Celtic, they were kind of making it out as if it was a health problem, or it was maybe a family problem or something like that.
Maybe
and I think
maybe we still don't know. Do you know what I mean?
No, but I don't know, Paul, because it kind of the narrative kind of changed pretty quickly. Because I think a lot of people thought, well, that's not really adding up. Do you get what I mean? It's just, and it kind of the PR spin changed it quite quickly, or especially overnight, really. You know what I mean? Because
he's back working in Scottish rugby, like.
Sorry, Terence.
He's back working with the Scottish.
That's what I was going to say. He got a job. He started a job not that long after it. So you can't say it was anything to do with health or family health or anything like that.
Mark, it could have been him himself. You know, just going what you're saying there. Maybe Dominic McCoy actually.
I think our board used the same people who vetted Craig White to research Don Mackay.
That maybe he realised, Mark, himself that he was more suited to the rugby rather than the football. You know.
Again, Paul, why did it take him that? Do you get what I mean? Why did it take him all that time to realise he didn't actually fancy the job? Why get to even the length of process to get offered the job if you didn't really fancy it?
Because, like, in real terms, like, we're all delighted where Nicholson has performed and stuff like that, but like, this is only one season. Like, we still don't know, Mark, his future plans for Celtic. Like, you know,
he's not even been interviewed at all. And I've said to you before, Paul, see, for me, that's a good CEO. I said to you that hopefully we get to a stage on here that we're not sitting constantly moaning about our CEO, and that's, I know we're talking about me now, but that is, we're at that, but we're not reading Michael Nicholson all the time in the paper, and it's about Celtic, where we always were when Lowell was there. Do you know what I mean? It was always the Peter Lowell show kind of thing.
He was like the face of Celtic, Mark.
Aye.
No matter who the manager was, Mark, Peter Lowell was always.
Well, I think that was a kind of maybe the start of the falling out with Rodgers, to be honest, Paul, because Ronnie Dyler was happy for Peter Lowell to be. Do you get what I mean? He just wanted to be on the training pitch, kind of training the players and working with the players. Neil Lennon was just Neil Lennon. He would just do whatever Peter Lowell wanted him to do. Whereas Rodgers would be like, why is he talking about this? Why is he giving interviews about this? See, your CEO should be giving interviews to anybody, really. I mean, you never read maybe once a year you'll read something about like the Chelsea CEO or something like that. But
I think, Mark, we knew the fallout between Brendan Rodgers and Peter Lawrence when we signed Marvin Shavard, and they interviewed Brendan Rodgers, and he said he didn't sign him. He's enough wingers. It's defence.
And then Martin Shred came out and said that he spoke to Brendan Rodgers a couple of times on the phone. Yeah. So who do you believe? I mean, why would the player say he hadn't spoke to the manager?
If Peter Lawrence was still in the club, Mark, could you see this progress with him?
No.
Under Ange and these players coming in? Could you see maybe Peter Lawrence trusting Ange's judgment and sign 4 players from Japan?
No. I don't think we've been as good a spot as we've had if Peter Lawrence was still in charge, even with Ange.
You know, I really couldn't see Peter Lawrence being the man he is, Mark.
With the state of the team at the end of last season, the amount of players we were needing, Paul, Peter Lawrence would have been getting us in free agents and
I think that's the key, Mark, this season to more than any other seasons was that it's only like three loan deals, Mieda, Vickers and Yotta. The rest are signings, Mark, tied down to 4 to 5 years. And I think that's
the loan signings, Paul, at a level that even if they don't sign, and we do win the league this season, they've done their job, Paul. As I've said, if you're bringing in a loan signing, they've got to be somebody that's straight into your team and better than what you've got. There's no point to just having the guys like John Joe Kenny and folk like that.
Well, look at John Joe Kenny now, Mark. He's playing regularly now for everything. This new highly rated youngster they signed from across the road isn't even getting a look in.
No. Yeah, but look how Everton's doing.
I know, yeah.
I was talking to Paul about that the other day. I don't know, did we speak about it on this, Paul, the other night, did we?
No, we didn't actually. Go on.
I've done looking at the Premier League table, Terence, and the teams see down at the bottom of that, even like less. I've not got the figures in front of me, but it was like Leicester have won like 6-7 games all season and things like that. And you think that's the amount of money these teams have got, and down at the bottom of half of that league, it's absolute dross, man. They're just teams 20. What was it? 22 games or something, Paul. Sorry, Terence.
So that's probably the reason Rodgers is throwing the toys out of the cot now, because all of a sudden it's only 7 games won. He's not fighting for a Champions League spot, so it's not his fault anymore. Like,
He's throwing the players under the bus. That's it. He done it the other day.
Yeah, big time.
Moving on, Terence, it was clear to everyone that Celtic have felt the pinch during the COVID pandemic. Still, Celtic showed their financial muscle in the SPL this season with 2 transfer windows on the bench, buying in key players who actually made a difference to the team and squad, still having profits in the bank. Celtic we look in good shape, Terence, don't we?
They look in very good shape. They look in very good shape. Paul, if you look at the figures, as you said, that came out that you read up there, you like anything that was last season, you don't worry about it, because everyone was in that position last season. It wasn't any one club; it was everyone.
I think that's why they've quoted the 2020 figures, isn't it, Paul? Because last season there was other factors with COVID in that. Now the figures you're comparing,
they didn't put them to
2021. I know they've been back to like the normal season.
So, like, I don't think you could say, like, because if you put growth to last season, Mark, with revenue coming in, because there was no revenue coming in last season because there was no fans there.
No.
The Celtic shop was closed for practically the whole season as well, and like, you would have had 100% growth, Mark. But you know what I mean. But Sean 29% growth, Mark, from 2020, like, it's impressive again by Celtic, you know, and it's just shown to Mark that at the start of the season there was still uncertainty if fans were going to get back into the stadium, you know, what I think. But the Celtic fans again showed the loyalty to the team terms, you know, like they bought their season tickets again as sellouts, you know. Yeah,
and you should say the one you should say there, Paul, is the pre-tax profits of 27.6.
Yeah.
Obviously during COVID it was basically like a 6 million loss. Do you know what I mean? So that's a 21 million turnaround. When basically fans can go to the games, when people can turn up, when people can spend their money, when, you know, like the thing is, I saw a stat before that said, I think 43% of revenue in Scottish football is made from basically fans going to the game, bums on seats. Do you know what I mean? They don't have the luxury of the television rights that they have down in England, where regardless of whether the fans turn up or not, they'd still have a whopping balance sheet. In Scotland, it was basically no fans, everyone's going to be hit big time. And those figures answer those questions. Like I said, 43% of revenue coming in from fans with bums on seats, so to speak. You go to your, as you said there, Paul, the shop, people going in buying merchandising, people buying programs, people buying food, people buying drink, people buying everything in the club that wasn't available to them 12 months ago. It makes a massive difference, like, you know, and it's great to see.
Like the revenue, Mark, like, increased by, it was 40.7 million in 2020, increased by 52.9 million. I know now there's a lot of inflation stuff there, but Celtic fans don't shy away, Mark, supporting their club in buying merchandise and, you know, buying jerseys, scarves and stuff like that. They're loyal to the bone, Mark.
They'll buy any old tart with a Celtic badge on it. I've got a spare room up at stairs, boxes. I'm a terrible hoarder, Paul.
I'm still waiting for them, I'm still waiting for them,
No, Paul, I've got things and it's like It's like Celtic shower gel, pure tacky, a tub of shit, and I've never opened it.
But you
never.
buy it, Mark. But you buy it, yeah,
No,
exactly.
my mum buys them. My mum used to just buy me all this weird stuff, Celtic Tic Tacs, line it, you know what I mean? Daft things like that. I've still got boxes of stuff like that up the stair.
Have to show me then, man.
But my
If you
Tic
look at
Tacs.
Green, what colour are they? Green.
You do maybe your Tic Tacs at me.
You need a bit of time, lads.
You know? Even Terence, like, I know we got big revenue for Edward and Ayer. We got a bit of money for Christie as well, who was in the last 6 months of contract. But even to the transfer window, like we spent big, like, but it wasn't the way we spent this. It's how we spent it, and we spent it wisely this season rather than other seasons. You know.
Listen, Paul, I don't think any Celtic fan would crib in a sense about what money was spent, in a sense, once it's spent correctly and once it's spent wisely. Like if Celtic spent when they bought, say, Julian for 7 million, everyone's like, oh, it's a lot of money. But when he was playing, he was good, and so you kind of getting the return on that. But when you're going to loan for Shane Duffy or John Joe Kenny and you're paying big money for them and they're absolute tripe, you're like, okay, that's terrible money to be spending. You know, so it's all relative. As I said, like, I mean, the revenue to turn around there is basically working out like £1 million a month, £1 million pounds a month, basically from 2020. A bit. So that's the biggest thing, and the money that they spent on the boys in this transfer window has been unbelievable value for money. Like,
you know, was it 1.7, I think, for O'Reilly or something like that? Terence, was it
1.5 million for O'Reilly? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could probably sell that lad by the end of the SPL for 10 million. No, I hope they don't sell him, but you could.
Yeah, that's why. That was the next thing I was going to bring up, Terence, is that I hope Ange will be able to keep the bones of his squad for at least another season and get momentum going if we win the league this season into the Champions League group stage and give it a real go. Keep that the board actually, like, they back down now with all these players. Let them keep the squad so we're not refreshing it practically in the new season coming ahead. You know, do you think that's the plan, that they will let him keep the bones of this squad?
I don't see it. I don't think anybody will be sold, Paul. I don't think anybody will be sold to balance the books or that. No.
Not going by what we're seeing here anyway, Mark, isn't this?
No,
yeah.
And obviously if anybody wants to leave them, they'll be sold. But if Carter Vickers and Jota sign, I'm only looking at Celtic maybe 2 signings or something like that, Paul.
I think that's the plan, Mark.
That's where we want to be, Paul.
Mark, and just add in,
like, say
to the squad then, isn't this?
Say Forrest decides it's better pastures new after this season or that, we'll bring in a right winger to replace Forrest.
Big wage cunt.
I know. I mean, I said that as well. I mean, Forrest, it's all right saying he'll maybe be. I mean, I'd probably give that young boy Doak a chance before I'd put Forrest back on the park. But it's sitting there earning a hell of a lot of money for doing nothing.
That could have been the plan today, Mark, with Doug being on the bench, that maybe he would come on for Forrest, considering, but with the score being only at 1-0, that Ange had to bring on the big guns then, rather than young Ben Doug. You know? And
plus what you're saying as well, Paul, if we win the league and get into the Champions League, but the player's not going to I'm better off doing in England getting. Yeah. Do you get what I mean? The lower depths of England, you get paid there.
If we do win the league, like, Mark, that's the financial side kind of looked after as well, like 40 million to the club.
That takes us into a pure astronomical, Paul. Honestly, it would be. Yeah,
you know, and I think that's important.
One of the biggest fears I have, Paul, is not losing the players. It's losing Ange. He's only on a rolling 1-year contract. That would be my fear. That if people look at him and say he's after transforming, how much is he? He's not on a 3-year contract, a 4-year contract, a 5-year contract. He's just on a rolling 1-year contract. He'd be my worry, because if he goes, then if God forbid if he did go, like, let's not beat around the bush. The Japanese lads there because of Ange.
And he would probably want to take them with him, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but all of a sudden, Mark, then the deck of cards or whatever we would call it, the whole thing will come crumbling down. Because
100%.
Ange is the focal point in the middle of that, and everything works off him. So if he goes all of a sudden,
I've said that before, Paul.
That's the biggest problem, Mark, is that we're like. Mark, I know.
I'm always going about it. I feel as if I'm moaning all the time about it.
Because we're showing all our support to Ange, that if he leaves, we're back to square one.
Aye, there's no long-term planning, no director of football, no head of recruitment,
Exactly. And not just that, Mark, either. It's the youth development, because I get the impression that Ange still is playing a key role in that as well at the moment. Yeah.
But that's why I'm saying, Paul, that Celtic, I don't know, maybe they haven't, I don't know. But that's all well and good that O'Reilly's 5 years or Tata's 5 years or Kyogo's 4 years or whatever. Tie Ange down.
Yeah.
Tie Ange down for 4 or 5 years. He may not stay for the 4 or 5 years.
I think that's one of the biggest problems with Celtic, with their Manchester terms, is the rolling contract.
No, they done that with Rodgers, and then they gave him a longer term contract after the first year. They seem to do that with a lot of managers. Apparently, they do the first year's a rolling contract, and then whether they decide after that, I don't know whether they're hedging their bets if the league goes well or league goes bad or whatever. Maybe that's what they were doing with Ange. But I would like to see them kind of go, regardless of what happens in the league. And I mean that for the rest of the season, because he's trying to.
I think so, exactly, Terence. Yeah, like not just what happens in the league. Like, he needs to tie him down, because it gives not only that, but it gives a thing to the players as well, that the manager has signed a new long-term contract. He wants to be here, and then the players will go, I want to be part of Ange's plans.
Exactly, and it will in a sense, I know it might necessarily ward off someone, but the club shows their faith and loyalty in Ange and how much they want him.
Yeah, exactly.
And he comes across as a very genuine kind of guy. So
what's your thoughts, Mark, on the rolling contract, Mark?
I can understand why they've done it, but I don't think it's the kind of thing that Ange will be worrying about. I think he's more the type will say, I will deal with that at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's not something because see that when you listen to Ange and the way he speaks in that, and I mean,
you can see that he speaks about the future, Mark.
But see if somebody did come in for him in the summer and we'd only need to pay a year's compensation for him, but who's it going to be? He's done a great job at Celtic, but you can't see like somebody like Man United coming in for him.
No.
So it's going to be again this bottom level English team. None of the big teams are going to get what I mean. You'll get a lot more money and he'll have more money to spend on players. But is he going to get the chance to build what he's getting the chance to build at Celtic?
I don't know, Mark.
And he's as I've said, Paul, he's no spring chicken.
No, and I think that's, Mark, when you said that too, Mark, that he's no spring chicken. And I'd be like, things that we spoke about before was discuss with Ange how long he wants to spend in football again. And would he be interested in taking up a director of football role at Celtic going forward? You know what I mean?
I'd definitely ask him the question. At least ask him the question.
Because he built the foundations, and Ange will actually...
Maybe Nicholson said to him, maybe they've had these conversations and Nicholson said, look, I'll get every penny I can get out of this board for you.
Yeah.
You just keep doing what you're doing and plodding away. I'll make sure I can...
Because then we know, Mark, that there is a plan, and that if Ange did step up, Mark, Ange then will have the authority to bring in a manager who he knows will keep that system going, that he wants to play. Evolve the system, do you know what I mean? But Ange is coming in there, Mark, changing tactics, changing...
No, and Ange's doing... I mean, but he's proven that he kind of can oversee the full kind of football department, Paul, because we've seen the transformation across the board this season. And I've said it as well, Paul, see a lot of the work that he's doing, he shouldn't need to do that.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
I think, Mark, he's taken on too much this season.
I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, he's doing a great job, but think of the job that he could do if he wasn't worrying about the scouting. Do you get what I mean? If there was a head scout, a head of recruitment to work on all this and things like that, it would be something that he didn't need to do, although he probably would anyway, because he said he breathes football 24/7, but it's just a bit, let him concentrate on the job that he's doing the now, do you know what I mean? But I have an input, obviously, if we're bringing in a director of football, it's going to be like him and Ange that work together closely to work on the football department, but just get somebody in to take, even it doesn't need to be a big fancy job title, director of football, just get somebody in the now to take a wee bit of pressure off of Ange, having to juggle all these balls at the one time.
You see now, Mark, even I know their club is in a shambles, but they don't have a director of football, but it's like a director of operations. But that's just, in my opinion, that's just another name. You know what I mean? It's practically a director of football's role, Mark, because this fella from Manchester United is actually seeing over all the transfers and players. You know what I mean? It's just a different name. No,
it's just that's what it is. Fancy names that they kind of think up, and you've got to remember. I know, Paul. See, like if they've paid off a director of football, I don't know. I take it's the same rules as any other job. You can't, if somebody gets paid off for their job, you can't take somebody on to replace them for a certain length of time.
Yeah.
They give you another job title kind of thing. You know what I mean? If you're paying somebody off because of redundancy kind of thing through lack of what, you can't take somebody on.
The fellow with Brighton left because their director of football left because he's going to Newcastle, but they put him on gardening leave. So he's actually not working for Brighton anymore, but he still has to perform his duties at home for Brighton until his guardianship runs out at the end of the month. You know?
Aye.
So he actually can't go.
He's still paid as normal, you see.
Yeah, still paid as normal, but he can't go. He can't start his work terms with Newcastle or negotiate with Newcastle until this terms are finished. Isn't it the gardening leave? Isn't it?
Basically deemed that he's still employed with the company, even though he's not working with the company. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. He'll get paid. He'll get his weekly or monthly paid wage or whatever it is up to the date when his contract's terminated or finished or whatever it is when he's gone over to Newcastle. But
you know what I find interesting though with that terms, right, is that was one of the main things kind of why Eddie Howe didn't come in here, because he wanted his own director of football at that time, Mark, to come to Celtic and his whole background team. And now you look at Newcastle and they're bringing in their own director of football, and they still kept a lot of their own coaches as well at Bournemouth, at Newcastle.
Aye, you know? But that's what big clubs do, Paul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because a manager goes, excuse me, it keeps ticking on. I mean, many managers
he could have destroyed Celtic, because if he would have left, and if his body was the director of football, that's the whole department, coaches, everything gone.
But look what happened with Rodgers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there was people as well. People says, Brendan Rodgers, one of the reasons was director of football at Celtic. Leicester's got a director of football. Mm-hmm. So Brendan Rodgers hasn't got any qualms whatsoever of working under a director of football. Mm-hmm. Most big, I've spoke about it, Paul. Most of these big clubs have. We've been on about Ajax, although Mark Overmars has seemed to have been a bit of a naughty lad and had to leave Ajax last weekend, I think it was.
He's going to be banned out, Mark, from actually working.
Is he? I didn't really read much into it. I just was sending inappropriate messages to people or that. That's that maybe a big spanner in Man United's plans going forward, because I think maybe their eye on
wanted Van der Sar, didn't they?
Van der Sar and Overmars to get involved with them. Mm-hmm. But all these clubs do, Bayern Munich, how many managers do Chelsea get through? The club, they never, but the manager comes and goes, but the club just keeps going. Nothing else changes, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like Mourinho come in, but he's 2 or 3, 4 guys that he takes everywhere with him. When they leave, right, that's it, only they 2, 3, 4, 5 guys go. And then the next guy brings in, do you know what I mean? That's the way it's got to be.
It's like, the thing is, at the end of the day, it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like any business, where if the CEO is there or certain people are in certain positions and they're running it, it's run a specific way. If your man leaves, it's still run the same. When someone comes in to replace him, it's still run the same way.
But there's not
a huge adjustment.
But that's not going to happen with Celtic. Do you know what I mean? If Ange
Not
leaves,
to get
we're back to
I mean,
square one.
look at Arsenal when Wenger left, and look at Man United when Ferguson left.
Yeah.
That's
Mark,
the kind of situation that we could end up in if the big if for some reason Ange decides to up sticks in the summer.
Exactly, and I fear more, Mark, for
my biggest fear.
our young players is if something happened with Ange, if he left, is we're finally seeing youth players get brought up to the first team and are given a chance, and we're actually seeing like that could all go belly up as well, Mark. If Ange, like this whole club could crumble if Ange leaves in the morning.
Aye, I said that. I've been saying it for months on here, Paul.
Yeah.
But again, Paul, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Do you know what I mean? Because look how far we've came for August. I mean, really, look how far we've came.
Amazing.
And
like
I think for me, Ange just come in and says, right, I'll get this football on the park. I'll get that sorted out. But we need to get these guys in longer term. We need to get ahead of recruitment in. We need this in. We need new sports science guys because
he's planning, Mark,
they're trickling. And the moves are trickling down, Paul, with these new sports science guys and that. Do you know what I mean?
I think, Mark, we saw things are happening behind the scenes when we saw these appointments in sports science departments. You know what I mean? We saw that the data fella coming in out. He's gone into sports science. So we're seeing that the work is actually being done. Just because we're not hearing it doesn't mean it's happening.
I'd like to think come this summer there'll be. As I said, I'm not looking for guys. I'm not talking about guys coming in to like tell Ange what to do or that. Paul. It's guys that to help the club and to help Ange. Ange can ask him to do. Can ask him to get jobs done that he doesn't need to spend time doing. Then
exactly. So Celtic return to European football on Thursday night, be it in the Conference League, but European nights at Celtic Park are spectacular, and I think the Conference League will be no different. The visitors are Norwegian champions, Bodo Glimt. They're champions of Norway to 21 season. The Norwegian League, of course, is a summer league, so our visitors haven't played a competitive football since I think the start of December. Celtic will be their first competitive game for the Norwegian side. Their manager, Knutsen, side are after two pre-seasons, and he's came out after their last pre-season that they need a big improvement when they play Celtic, as they have been conceding very sloppy goals. His tactics are mostly a 4-3-3 formation. He likes to play with wing blacks. Likes to play dangerous on the counter-attacking football. He's a very young squad and very creative squad. Great conditioning. They're fast. Most of his wing backs like to attack, and they like to do the high press. I think I'm looking the previous games, Terence, in European football with Celtic is there. We saw on the previous managers, we seem to underestimate the opposition because of, we don't hear of them much. But with Ange, he underestimates no opposition. I think Ange will have the players set up for this game, but it's not going to. I don't think it'll be an easy ride for Celtic. I think it could be a tricky tie for us.
Without a doubt. Look, Paul, the bottom line is they're champions of the Norwegian League.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's molded. They beat Molded into second.
Exactly.
You know, so, and that's the crowd that have beaten Celtic. I know before, previously, not this side. But the bottom line is they're champions of their league. So Ange will know now. Like today, he'll respect them. He'll have the team well prepared. And if you're saying what you're saying, that they're that kind of a side, it could appear to be a very, very open game and a very, very attacking game from both sides. So this is the key. The key is where Celtic play at a high tempo, good accurate passing, quick movement, like we've seen in a lot of games. Obviously not necessarily today, but a lot of the games when the first 11s are there, and Celtic have to take advantage of being at home. It's vitally important that Celtic take advantage of being at home, and ideally go away with a lead and try not to hopefully concede it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Celtic get a 2-0 lead or something like that, it would be great.
Of course, we just spoke about the COVID pandemic, and no football club was avoiding it. They had to sell some of their best players to balance the books. They sold Eric Beckenbauer, Patrick Borg, who we know of because there was rumours Celtic would link to him.
He would have been a good signing for us, Paul. That Patrick Berg.
Yeah, Hyve Mickelson, who recently just signed for Hibs. In total, Mark, they've sold. Loan deals have expired. 14 players have left their squad that won the league last season. All right, 16 players they brought in, but they only spent 8 million, and a lot of these 16 players are loan deals who they brought in. So they've clearly, I think, have been hit by the pandemic. They normally don't spend big. The club, they're big believers, Mark, in bringing youth players into their squad, and a lot of their squad is made up of youth players who've been promoted to the thing. Like, but
that's it. Most of the teams up that neck of the woods are like that, Paul.
Promote within, Mark, and try to make money off them and stuff like that. But they're not. What I've been reading of them.
It's not the worst draw we could have had.
No, it's not the worst draw we could have got, Mark, because
I'm
confident
we'll get through.
They seem to haven't settled the way the manager would have liked them to have, because he said they're conceding goals this season that they wouldn't have conceded last season. And I think it's a big advantage for us back.
If they've lost 14 players, it's a totally different team, isn't it?
Yeah, totally different team. And I think Borg is a big loss for Mark.
I would have liked us to sign him. I really would have.
And then,
I mean, Terence says Ange will have the team, the players in the right frame of mind, and never been stung that many times in Europe and that. You never underestimate any team, really, but I think Celtic are the two legs will quite comfortable.
Mark. I think if Lennon was in charge, this could have been a dangerous time for Celtic, because
if Lennon had been in charge, Paul, we wouldn't be playing
we would thought it would have been a banker, Mark, though, wouldn't we? Like, but Ange doesn't seem to overestimate any team. You know what I mean? It's the team on the day that he focuses on, and he's focused now will be on Bodo Glimt.
Aye, definitely.
There's no thinking ahead. I think you mentioned that terms before, didn't you? You mentioned that terms that Ange just looks at the team on the day and that's it.
Oh yeah, and that's all you need. That's all you have to look at, the next game, and that's it. But the other big factor for me as well is that it's their pre-season.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest worries for them is that it's their pre-season. They only played 2 matches.
I've seen that they played two friendlies or something like that.
Yeah.
And they won 1-0 and the other one 3-2.
Yeah,
so that's a huge thing. So regardless of anything, and we'd see it even from Celtic at the start of the season. The fitness levels, they're still going to be working on them. They're probably a very fit side, no question about it, but you're still trying to get match fitness into your legs. And it's a real opportunity. I mean, Celtic are, how far through the season are we? You know what I mean? We're well through the season. So you've got one side that are a good bit through their season, one side is starting their season. Like, Celtic have to go full tilt at the start of this game. Full tilt, because I'm not saying this other crowd will struggle, this Bodo Glimt will struggle, but if you're only in your pre-season, fellas could tire with 20 minutes to go or 15 minutes to go, that they may not be season.
Just what you're saying there as well, Terence, that they're still in their pre-season, and going by the way they want to play with their wing-backs and their counter-attacking football, I think that they could play into Celtic's hands, giving us that space that we'll explore as well. Yeah,
you would hope so, and that's why I'm saying I think it could be a very, very open attacking game. And I would just hope that maybe they're not up to full speed fitness-wise, and in the last maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, that some of their players do come a bit leggy, and maybe that's where a few mistakes are. Because, to be fair, the Celtic team that has been playing of late, with the speed and the accuracy and the
And
running.
even with our bench now, Terence, like the players like going on, like if they were tiring with 25 minutes to go, look at the players now that's on our benchmark that we can bring on. You know what I mean? It could be frightening if they're tiring and the players that Celtic can bring on.
Well, it's like us, but these Champions League qualifiers and that, they're usually a panic because it's like Foz Junior Priest. Aye,
yeah, exactly.
So this is just basically what we're up, but that team's up against. Do you know what I mean? And you're saying that even their managers talking about the goals they're letting go and things like that. I mean, I don't really see them causing any problems, Paul. I really don't. I think this should be quite a comfortable win for Celtic.
But if
we turn. What?
Going in the Conference League themselves, like, and looking how we're playing now, and like, I honestly think Celtic can make a real go of this Conference League. Looking at the teams that's in it.
I don't see why no.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't see. But should they be scared? There's nothing to be scared of, Paul.
No.
Especially in the home games. I see somebody said that in the live chat there as well. Fancies us against anybody playing at home, sir. I'd just bring it on, get a right good go. I think we'll be in the next round anyway.
I think it'd be special, Mark. Special for Celtic Football Club if we got a real goal under this, you know, and Celtic got into the quarterfinals or the semi-finals and things. Can you imagine the buzz, the confidence around the club with that type of football on your back? How much confidence that'll give you as well, Mark, till the end of the league, you know?
Aye, definitely, Paul, 100%. I want Celtic to win every tournament they get into. You know what I mean?
That was,
you sit there and you're like, that League Cup, you'll forget. Play the young players in the League Cup and that, but then see when it's coming to the League Cup, you're like, nah, I want to win that.
Everyone remembers the special nights we had in the run up to Seville, like beating Blackburn, Mark, and Blackburn were no easy team back then, Mark.
No.
You know what I mean? Liverpool were no easy team back then. Like they were special European nights that I think Terence will remember, you remember. You know, like the buzz like that created around the club. Like we could bring that back again, like with a good run in this Conference League.
Listen, Paul, if Celtic got to you as I think Mark said it there before, you'd hear people going, "Oh, it's only the Conference League. It's only this. It's only that." If Celtic were in the semi-final of the Conference League or the final of the Conference League, you're not telling me the place would be rocking. Or if it was,
but that's what I think, Terence. Like, that's why this Conference League was made, because at the moment, like, and this is taking out Ange, no Mark, and what Ange has done to the club, but the way we were managed under Brendan Rodgers and under Neil Lennon in Europe, Celtic were not a Champions League team. We were barely a Europa League team, Mark, under them. And I think at the moment...
No, but see, to be fair to Neil Lennon, Paul, Neil Lennon, see we were up against a good team, Neil Lennon parked the bus. Brendan Rodgers went toe-to-toe with PSG and things like that. That was just craziness. Do you know what I mean?
You know, towards the park. But this is I think, Mark, at the moment, in Europe, I think this is where we are, Mark. You know what I mean? This is our chance to get European football. You know, we got a tough group, and to be fair, Mark, we did well in that.
I thought we'd done no bad in the group again, considering how long Ange had put the team together and stuff like that.
And considering Real Betis, he had to put out a second string team, Mark, that did brilliantly on that day. You know, I think, Mark, this is a good opportunity for Celtic to win a European Cup, and I would, if Ange wants it and if the players want it, we could go a long way in this cup, you know.
But there's nobody in it to fear. There really isn't. I mean,
they're at our level, Mark, or we're better than.
I mean, there's somebody saying they'd love to get Leicester and I mean, I'd be quite happy to get through with Leicester. We're just sitting talking about how poor a job Brendan Rodgers is doing. Imagine we popped them out of Europe. That would be the ultimate.
Can you imagine, Mark, if we got Leicester, the atmosphere that at Celtic Park and thing. Looking at that Leicester team now, Mark, like any Premier League team down there It doesn't matter who they are. Maybe bar Liverpool, Mark, in their European nights, but there's no atmosphere in England that's like Celtic Park.
No.
Like I remember, it was only this season, and Manchester United were playing, and then one of the opposition, it was a Liverpool fan, was asking a Manchester United player was asking a Liverpool player for his jersey, a Manchester United fan, and then
Liverpool celebrating a goal, and all the Man United fans are taking pictures of the Liverpool players and things like that.
Celebrating by the side, like the Manchester United players take a picture of them.
Football down there soulless, Paul.
It is, Mark. I don't think there's no rivalry down there anymore, really. So there's not, and that's why I think this will be special for Celtic, Mark, if we get a good run in this, like special European, like no matter what cup they're in, Mark, Celtic fans.
European nights are special. I've said that before, Paul, guys. I'm not going to the European, but Terence is saying there as well, I'm not going to Europe. I'm not going to that Europa League game. If paying all that money and they don't even get into the Champions League and that. Well, don't go, mate. If you see somebody else, will buy your ticket. Mm-hmm. Because every night, in Europe, no matter who it is, Celtic Park will be bursting at the seams.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think, Mark. I think. Sorry, Terence, go on.
I was going to say, all you have to listen to, Paul, is people like your Ronaldos, your Xavis, your Iniestas, your Messis. You listen to what they say. They say they've never seen atmospheres like it in their lives, and these guys have played at every level, at the highest level for years. And these are guys that Maldini, they all talk about. You have to play at a champion. You have to play a European game at Celtic. Do you know these
but
are
that's
the cream of the top there.
But that, it's something that I was only thinking the other day, like Celtic Football Club, Mark. It's a family. It's passed down through generations in your family. But now you look at families now and who follow the Premier League. Their father could be a Manchester United fan, but the son could follow Manchester City just because they won the leagues and he saw Manchester City growing up win titles, or the son could be a Liverpool fan.
When we've got Ed Wan on, Paul, he'll tell you about things like that, because his family's like, half of them are Everton fans, half of them are Liverpool fans, and the old dead Everton guy, old Billy's in his 60s kind of thing, and I think one of his boys is a blue and one's a red.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seems to be the way it is.
They're grown men. Billy's boys are my age. It's not as if they're new, like tourists. Or just, as you say, whoever wins the league, that's who they kind of support.
When is he coming to England? We're trying to get him on, as you said.
Well, I get back into UK yesterday, Paul, sir.
Get him on tomorrow, so.
I think he's here for a while, right? I think he's here for 2 months, maybe. He says it's something to do with visas and stuff like that. He's moving from Dubai to the Philippines.
Get him on, Mark, because like fellas in the live chat, like Ed One kind of was it back? He runs the forum page.
Aye, it was him and Ed 33. That started off just as like a wee. I think it was like just a wee college project that they kind of were doing or something like that, and it just grew and grew, Paul.
But this fella, Mark, Ed One, was when Ange's name first came.
He knows all about him, Paul. It was him that first mentioned. It was him that first mentioned Bielsa and things like that to me, Paul. Know what I mean? His name's Tris, a nice Liverpudlian name. Do you know what I mean? But it was him that a lot of the stuff I know about other guys as I came through him telling me to look up things, and do you know what I mean? Things like that. He really knows his stuff in it behind the scenes and training and coaching and all that. He really does.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to Thursday night, Mark. It's good that the club actually have European football after Christmas. You know,
it's good for the coffers and it's good for the fans.
Mm-hmm. You know, question is like, I think we'll see the big guns come out, Mark. I think they were rested for a reason today for this game, Mark. And I it's going back to what Terence said earlier on the podcast that I don't think Ange particularly wanted to bring on Abada, Dijon Mida or Yasha today, that he actually did want to rest them, but we had to bring him on. But I'm expecting, like, realistically, our only major injury concern at the moment is still Kyogo, and I think, is it due, Mark, with personal data? We actually can't get the extent of it.
Aye, that seems to be it. Aye, just that Data Protection Act, and seems to kind of use that as I'm not saying a cover, but he says, would you want your medical stuff getting blabbed over the papers and stuff like that? So he's got a point, mate. That's the way he wants to do things. Plus he says as well, he's not a doctor, so he doesn't know anything about it. I think the team picks it spell.
Another one, Mark, is another one. You know, some people are saying it's COVID, and other people are saying it's a knock. But look, we just don't know the extent of their injuries. But
I mean, if people, well, even if Juranovic doesn't make it, I think we could, any of the three as the now could pick the starting team for Thursday night, really, couldn't we?
Start the way, so Marky, bye. Start the way, bye.
But the team, Hart, Ralston, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, Taylor, McGregor, O'Reilly, Hatate, Abada, Giacomakis, and Jota.
Do you think so? Alright.
Well, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
Oh, that'd be the exact same team I'd have.
But I was going to say, G, is O'Reilly ahead of Roderick now?
I think they're different players, Paul.
Yeah, I think O'Reilly actually brings more energy to the team, Mark.
Aye.
Than what, like, you can't, like, not say Roderick doesn't deserve to be dropped or stuff like that, but because, like, Roderick can open up a team, Mark, with one pass. But it's just what O'Reilly brings to the team.
He's all pressing, an better all-round player, Paul. I've seen to explain the other night, like the box-to-box role. He's up and down the park and things like that. Rod gets to know so much.
You know, like, even, I think that's what impressed me as well, Mark. And I'm delighted he got his goal today, Giamarcus, you know, because he tires out defences, Mark, as well, don't he, Giamarcus?
He puts in some shift.
Chases everything, to be fair to the guy.
Yeah, he does.
I'd say as well, Paul, if you asked Ange what's his best 11, he'd probably tell you he probably would say, well, he wouldn't say, but I imagine he has his best 16. Because I think he'd have 4 or 5 guys that if he had to play Rogic instead of O'Reilly, it wouldn't bother him. If he had to play Maeda instead of Abada, he might be worried. There's probably 3 or 4 guys like his Mark.
I totally forgot about Maeda there turn, so I did.
I think Maeda will start Giamarcus, I think.
I think it's this team that Mark named, Paul. But what I'm saying is, I think if you look at it, it won't be his first 11. It'll be like a first 15 or 16. Because he'll be able to go, okay, I can put Maeda on. I can put Ralston can start if Juranovic doesn't play. I can bring in Tom Rogic if I need to. You know, so he's going. He can go. I can bring in.
I think you're right. I think you're right, Terence. Like it's not his first 11 anymore. It's his first 16 players that this group that he has. You know, that he kind of depends on. You know.
Yeah, and I do, because like they like Celtic of old would have been up shit's creek, excuse my French, if we didn't have a squad like we had, and we had Kyle go out for as long as we have. But yes, we can kind of, his loss isn't felt as badly as it would have been if we didn't have the squad that we have.
That's down to the fact that something that we spoke about on Thursday was the goals, Mark, that's coming from Abada and Yasha, or wingers. I mean, that's why we're not feeling, I think, the pinch of Kyogo, is because the two boys have stepped up, like, and they're scoring goals. Like, I mean, they 10 goals for Yasha, 14 goals for Abada. That's some goal rate for two young wingers.
But their goals are the team, really, Paul. See if we could get a bit better delivery at set pieces and get our centre half scoring a few headers, there would be goals coming for every part of the team.
I think, Mark, that would improve our corners in time, because now we have great distribution from Jovanovic at corners and O'Reilly, and I think we missed them. And I noticed that today, Mark, that when 2 of them went in there today, our corners and free kicks were poor at times.
Aye, Terence said right at the start of the show, most of Riley's he's not set up any goals yet I can think of, but they're all getting into the danger area.
Danger, in between the
They're
keeper
not
and
just
the defence back. That would, like, defender doesn't want to go near the ball in case it goes into the net.
It's like his goal mark, or the goal he set up for Jota against Aberdeen. He may not necessarily have, obviously he was putting it into Jota, but he was putting it into that, as I said, that of uncertainty.
Yeah,
so,
but
like,
you know the difference then, though,
exactly.
Terence, right? In just what you're saying there, like the difference in what you were saying about Mickey Johnson and James Forrest, right? Well, we were talking about them and their overall play. When you look at Yotta's goals and you look at Abada's goals, they're making their runs either from the edge of the box or from out wide. And that's where James Forrest and Mickey Johnson don't bring to their game. If they don't have the ball, they're not there. Do you get me?
You're right, Paul. I didn't see James Forrest leave the right wing all day.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see him coming in nearly trying to be an extra striker or whatever way to put it, as we discussed the way Jota and Abada do it.
Mm-hmm.
He just stayed out.
Because I saw a ball there today that Skades ripped in and it just went straight over to the sideline. But I guarantee you, if Abada was there, he would at least tried to get onto that ball, Mark. Do you get me?
There was no effort before. Exactly. It was just a lazy performance for him.
I think that's what the two boys bring us, Mark. Like, fair enough, they're wingers, but when Celtic have the ball and we attack, it's like we've three strikers on the pitch, because they're there in the box. And that's what I was saying at the early stage, Mark, is that when we had the likes of Turnbull playing and Wojciech playing, and we were putting these balls into the box, there was no one there to receive these balls. Now we have O'Reilly getting into the box, we have Yasser getting into the box, and we've Abada getting into the box.
Hatate,
yeah. Like,
if you look at from McGregor up the front, the five guys past McGregor, like, every one of them can score, and every one of them looks a goal threat. If you assume it's Hatate, O'Reilly, Jack, Marcus,
Maida,
I haven't seen a Celtic team like this in years, and this is even going beyond Brendan Rodgers, Mark. I think we're looking back to the Martin O'Neill era. It's when we had so many goal threats in our team. Like, we had Larson, Sutton, Hartson back then, like dangerous players.
Petrov pitched in with a few goals in that.
Thompson chipped in with goals there, Mark. You know what I mean? Like, we had threats all over the pitch. Like, under Brendan Rodgers, Mark, we really only had Dembele was Sinclair.
But everything. It was the way Rodgers played the game, but wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was awfully one-dimensional.
I mean, that
4-2-3-1. It was quickly proving how to outplay it. That's why no many people use it really now. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Rodgers is just.
But now, back, you look at our team now, like what Terence has said there. Like, you've out of all of our attackers on the pitch, there's goal threats everywhere. And the best thing about it is that not one person stays in the same position, so you don't know where they're going to go. Like, I was looking at Ralston today, and when he didn't have the ball, he was tucked in alongside Beaton. And Mark, you asked me about that. Is when we don't have the ball, it doesn't look like we've three defensive midfielders, and it does. That they tuck in so much, it's creating like a wall in the centre of the midfield.
It's like creating like another three-man defence kind of idea.
Yeah. I think it's like for us who have never witnessed the way Ange plays football, Mark, and I think this is the first I've ever saw the way he plays football. Someone like this plays football, Mark. But by God, it's a joy to watch when you actually watch the players, Mark. Like a lot of people just watch the ball and stuff like that. But when you watch the players who don't have the ball and they're out of position, it's phenomenal what they do. Like, and this is down to Ange and his training. Players know their job on the pitch, Mark, and they stick to that job.
Aye,
You know?
they can all do the job that's asked of them.
Yeah, you know, it's actually phenomenal, Mark. Like that, you could see Ange's training like that. It's man management, Mark. Do you know what I mean? That he spends time with each player, training them into that position that he wants them to do. Like, do you know what I mean?
Aye, it's not part of his
Yeah,
kind
you
of way
know,
you're working.
I
The
think
man management thing,
it's
getting the
amazing.
players
Like,
to
you know what I mean?
make
Like,
make sure the
really
players
very-
are enjoying learning what they're getting them to
Yeah.
learn.
when you watch some of it, it's nearly more impressive watching the players off the ball than the
yeah, it
player
is,
on.
Terence. Yeah, it is.
Like
You know?
the way they move, like it's like you said, the way they move. Like we spoke about it, the way Taylor last week,
Yeah,
or in the he's running off the ball. He was dragging people all over the place. Abada drags people all over. Right, it's off the work off the ball is twice as hard as the
it
guy
is,
on the
Terence.
ball.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
they're bursting a gut to get into
And that's
space or
why,
to get
like,
down the line or to drag this fella here, to drag that fella there. It's brilliant to watch. Like
that's what I like. Going back to when Ange said, like, we don't stop for 90 minutes. Like, it's not just when you have the ball. Do you know what I mean? It's when you don't have the ball, you still don't
and
stop.
that's why I'd say as well, Paul, that you get the likes of Ralston pulling into the middle,
Mhm.
because if you look at it, it's nearly like a case of right. We need to win that ball back in 20 seconds.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's nearly like if he pushes into the middle with Beaton or whatever, and the ball is played in there, the likelihood is Celtic have 2 or 3 to 1 of their guys.
Exactly,
So,
and
like,
that's how
you should
the attack then kind of starts up again. Terence Beeson then gives it to Ralston. Ralston then moves it out then to the attackers then straight away. You know, it's pretty impressive.
You
Like,
when you get it back. It's
you
very
know?
much like the great Barcelona side would have always had that mantra that they lose the ball and they literally hunted in 2s and 3s and 4s and they won it back, and eventually the opposition would nearly just kind of hoof it down the line and it was straight back and it was straight back and it was straight back.
And that's what we're seeing. You know what I mean? The opposition kind of hoofing the ball back to Celtic. Like, that's what we're seeing.
Look at McGregor in the Derby game, Paul.
Yeah.
How many times he just booted the ball out of play?
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, the ball boys, we've seen it, they've been told get the ball back. I've seen a player even talking about it. Is that relentless? Or not? As soon as the ball's
Joe Hart is
even getting out,
get the ball.
I've seen it. I think he was maybe an Aberdeen player, but he says as soon as the ball goes out of play, it's straight back on the park. They're not messing about. The ball goes out for a throw in, and right away you turn round, the ball's back in the park already, and it's just relentless pressure on them. And he says it puts them off their game, but their concentration.
I mean, I thought that was great. Like, was it Chris Sutton and Michael's Joe said he shouldn't be taking that risk, but I thought Joe Hart looked comfortable with himself and Welch, and then he passed the ball out then to Scales today when they were lobbing the ball up in the air for each other between the 3 of them. I thought Joe Hart looked very comfortable doing that today.
It seems to be.
Yeah, I thought he looked very comfortable. And people who say Joe Hart doesn't have the ball skills, I think you want to look back at the game, you know. That's it for tonight, lads. Thanks to Terence as always for joining us. We're looking forward to Thursday night. European football coming back to Celtic Park. I'm sure it'll be another special occasion for this young Celtic side. Terence, want to say anything before we go, bud?
No, just thanks as always, lads. And I'll have to try and keep the screaming down at work this week as I compared to when I was watching the Derby match on my phone. I was roaring like an ass. They could hear me half around the place, but I'll keep it a little bit more calmer for this week, hopefully.
That's about
it. Thanks as always, lads.
Mark will close the show.
Right, thanks very much for coming on, Terence.
Sorting out the conference fixtures for us.
Same to you, Paul. Have you been drinking coffee?
No, why?
Is you're gibbering away like a budgie there, man. You couldn't get a breath there.
Because, Mac, I'd lost to go through, man. So
Veronica wound you up before the show, you wee gibberer. But thanks anyway, as always, Paul. Thanks everybody that joined us. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, if you hit the subscribe button, if you don't subscribe, hit the like button, and if you know how, please leave a comment. It helps us grow on YouTube. Thanks very much. Hail, lads. Good night and God bless.
That it?